Okay, so I have a lot of stuff that I need to address about A Requiem for Witches. First of all, they all got redesigns. Every single one of the main characters, they've all been absolutely scrapped and redone. The only thing that remains the same is their colors, sort of, not really, but kind of, and their names. I'm not even kidding. Their places of origin, their personalities, and their backstories have all completely changed. They just kind of got tossed into a fire, and I kept some of the ashes, and they're new people. They're new characters. I don't know what to tell you. The story, much the same thing. It's going through a very large revamp, but there is a lot that's going to be remaining, such as Queen Lamia. She's going to remain as, like, the main antagonist going forward, but the whole story is getting absolutely destroyed and redone. And in terms of Salem's backstory, the character that I am currently drawing in the speed paint, she was raised in a mountain village instead of the forest village that was in her original backstory, hence all of her fluff and everything like that. I'll go more in depth into their backstories on like a later video if that's something that you guys might want, but for the most part, she's just completely changed. Her mother was still thrown off a cliff, but her father was no longer a demon, and she is in fact just a regular witch cat. I changed that about all of the main 4 characters except for Gwyd. They all just sort of became regular ones. Regular witch kitties. So here's the end result for Salem, and honestly I'm very, very proud of it. This is what she looked like beforehand. Yeah, she looked interesting. The next character is Aspen, who I took away pretty much all of his scorpion assets. The only thing that was left was the little stinger on the end of his tail. And I gave him a scarf, and instead of fighting with a staff, as I originally planned, he now fights with gauntlets, which I thought was actually a really good idea. They're little claw gauntlets, and I thought they were adorable, but you know. And Aspen grew up in the desert, hence his lack of fur. And he grew up in a very, very hostile environment, in a very, very, very witch-hating community within a desert village. And he pretty much just tried to scrape together whatever scraps he could via thievery and other means. Possibly murder, I don't know about that one yet. But this is a complete change from his past temperament, because in the other rendition of him, he was sort of the caretaker, I guess. He was supposed to be the dad of the group, but I pretty much changed him into being more of, like, morally gray, if you will. He's nice, I guess, but he also is perfectly fine with murder now, and and thievery, so there's that going for him. But yeah, I don't know much about his parents yet. I'm assuming what happened was that his parents kind of just threw him into the alleyways of the desert village and never even bothered to go and grab him again, and just kind of like abandoned him there. So he was pretty much forced to just scrape up whatever he could in order to survive. And he did manage it, and in the end, once he brought up the courage, he left. And this is his old design. Yeah, completely different. Next is Asteria. She's no longer a bat cat. I changed that completely about her. She no longer has wings, and her ability is no longer seeing the future. I changed her ability to be able to create shields, and she's more or less the tank character. And I did keep her sword as a weapon, but I gave her more of a two-handed heavy sword as opposed to the one-handed sword that she used to use. I gave her a lot more armor and a little band at the end of her ankle. And basically, she grew up in a war fort, a war camp, if you will. And her parents pretty much raised her there. She wasn't supposed to be born, but, you know, things happen, so she was. And she was raised there, and there was a very large rebellion against Queen Lamia that took place there, and her parents were a part of it, or the leaders of that rebellion specifically. But at the time, she was way too young to participate in the rebellion against the witches. So she ended up needing to flee once the Varanian Guard came to their doorstep. And she did have an older brother, and her older brother perished trying to protect Asteria from the witch killers and the witch hunters and to get her away and free. So now she wears the little band over her ankle as a symbol of the rebellion and a symbol that she will, restoke the rebellion and help witches. And, that's kind of her goal, individual goal throughout the thing. And I'm actually giving them individual goals for once. But I really liked her design. I kept the purple theme on her fur, and I kept the little white sparkles. This is her old design, so very different. And finally, we have Gwydion, who I actually really enjoyed designing. He sort of ended up very, very different, but I kept the blue on his fur, and I kept the more rounded shapes that I used for him in the very beginning. He still uses throwing daggers, and he's honestly probably the one character that changed the least, but I realized that I named him off of a squid, and he looked like an octopus. There was no squid tentacles at all. He was literally just an octopus. So I changed that, and I gave him little more squid-like tentacles. And his backstory still remains a mystery, because I don't want to spoil anything, and that's part of it. But basically, he was blessed by the sea goddess, and all of them were blessed by different gods and goddesses. I forgot to mention that, but his was specifically the sea goddess. And he has throwing daggers, or just basic daggers, because I thought that would be nice, because he can use his little tentacles to use the daggers, and I still used very, very rounded shapes for him, as I said, because he's fluffy. I gave him scales this time, because I thought that would add something cool to his fun little design. And this is really difficult to fill in the blanks when I can't talk about his backstory, because it's literally going to give away way too much about the story. But his backstory, I guess I can tell you how he met the other three, but basically he mostly bid his time hiding away in a village. This is actually shown in the pilot episode, so I guess that part of the pilot episode is canon, but he hid away in the village and until they all found him, and then he helped them escape the Varanian Guard, and here's his old design. Oh dear. Bye-bye.